Welcome to the Rewriting Naruto series part 4. This is a series of videos where I rewrite Naruto trying to improve it according to my personal taste. This is only part 4 of a long series of videos, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos from this series. Also, please like this video to support the channel and the series, and make sure it does well on YouTube. And if you want to support the series and the channel even further, become a member of this channel to get some awesome perks. Alright, we begin with the Konoha 9 returning to the village after being successful in their mission in the country of crystals. All 9 of them present themselves to report their mission in the Hokage's office. As team captain, Sasuke debriefs Hiruzen about everything that happened. Strangely, Naruto doesn't look proud when Sasuke mentions what Naruto has done. He has this concerned, maybe conflicted expression on his face. He seems even more perturbed when Sasuke says Naruto killed the enemy captain. Kiba looks pissed when Sasuke mentions his insubordination, but other than that, Sasuke finishes his report without many things to notice. Hiruzen says, "Great work, as I expected from you. Now, I'll ask all of you to keep this a secret, as no one should know that the leaf and the stone had this tense situation. It could lead people to take the wrong conclusions. You will all receive the compensation for an A-rank mission." When Hiruzen says that, most of the Konoha 9 ninjas seem very happy, except for Naruto, who is still concerned. The office door opens, and Danzo enters the room. He stares at the Konoha rookies with this menacing look on his face, lingering his gaze on Sasuke and then on Naruto. Naruto stares back at him and says, "What do you want, old man?" Danzo ignores him and walks towards Hiruzen. He then says, "So, your little plan worked out?" Hiruzen replies, "Indeed, Danzo, I told you to trust these ninjas." Danzo scoffs. We get the impression that Danzo was eavesdropping when Sasuke delivered his report. He then stares at Sasuke for a while and says, "I suppose sending the Uchiha boy was the right decision after all. It seems his leadership made a difference." Sasuke remains stoic, staring at Danzo. The room grows quiet for a moment. Everyone notices the tension created by Danzo entering the room. Danzo finally says, with a condescending grin, "He reminds me a lot of his brother, doesn't he, Hiruzen?" Sasuke's expression instantly turns into rage. He activates his Sharingan. "What did you say?" Danzo stares back at him and says, in disappointment, "Never mind, he would never let his emotions control him. You seem to be unlike your brother." Hiruzen cuts him and says, "Danzo, enough! Leave now." Danzo says, "Very well." He then exits the room while Naruto and Sasuke stare at him in anger. Hiruzen says, "I apologize for that. Danzo can be cryptic sometimes." Naruto asks, "Who's that stupid old man?" "One of the village elders, Naruto, but never mind him. You all should celebrate. You did a great service to this village, and you have my personal gratitude. I suppose it wouldn't hurt to give you all a couple of days off." The Konoha 9, except for Naruto and Sasuke, celebrate at that news. Sakura, with a smile on her face, asks Naruto and Sasuke, "Hey guys, let's go eat some ramen to celebrate." Sasuke stares at her and says, "Sorry, I can't." He then quickly leaves the room, leaving everyone behind as Sakura stares at Naruto, who's lost in thoughts. Sakura being a little sad by Sasuke just leaving them. She then asks, "Naruto, what do you think happened?" He takes a while to respond and says, "Yeah, Sakura, sorry, I don't think I should celebrate." Sakura is taken aback, and then she leaves the room with the other genins. The only one who stays in Hiruzen's office by this point is Naruto. Hiruzen looks at Naruto and says, "Naruto?" Naruto seems to want to tell him something, but Hiruzen being a Hokage really affects Naruto's ego because of his dad. Naruto's stubbornness finally gives in, and he says, "I killed a man on that mission." Hiruzen looks at Naruto with an understanding expression. His face is very gentle and tender. He then says, "Trust me, Naruto, I know it's difficult to do something like that, but this is the life of a shinobi. Sometimes you have to take lives in order to save lives." Naruto says, "But that doesn't make sense. This world is built up on contradictions. You saved the Tsuchikage's granddaughter by killing that man, and by doing so you assured the peace between the leaf and the stone. It's not ideal, but killing that man saved many lives. I must tell you, Naruto, You made the right choice. Even I couldn't do that once in the past. Foreshadowing. If you want to be a Hokage, you'll have to make difficult decisions. Preserve life whenever possible, but sometimes doing what is necessary is the right way. Hiruzen touches Naruto's shoulder and says, "You're a great ninja, Naruto. Thank you for protecting this village." Naruto nods in understanding. He motions to leave the room. As he opens the door, he stops and reluctantly says, blushing, "Thanks for taking care of me, old man." He finally acknowledges Hiruzen's efforts during Naruto's childhood, and then he leaves. We cut back to Hiruzen, and we can see he is teary-eyed. I think this is a good scene to develop Naruto's relationship with the third Hokage, so we get more attached to Hiruzen. And I think it's also interesting for Naruto to grapple with the fact that he killed a person. We cut to Sasuke, who's jumping around the Konoha roofs. He seems to be looking for someone. He then finally spots who he's looking for as he sees Kakashi in a small Konoha restaurant drinking some hot tea. Sasuke enters the restaurant and Kakashi looks at him, saying with a neutral expression, "Congratulations on the mission, Captain." Sasuke says, "Never mind that. We need to talk." Kakashi looks at his cup filled with tea and says, "Can it be here?" Sasuke says, "No." Kakashi sighs, puts some money on the table and leaves the restaurant with Sasuke. We cut to Kakashi and Sasuke on the same rooftop Kakashi introduced himself to Team 7. Kakashi then says, "Well?" Sasuke cuts right to the chase. "Who was Madara Uchiha?" Kakashi closes his eye in understanding and says, "Well, I see that your time in the country of crystals revealed some things to you." Sasuke impatiently says, "Answer me." Kakashi looks at him with a more serious expression now and says, "Madara Uchiha was the man who founded the Leaf Village with the first Hokage. He was the leader of the Uchiha clan once." Sasuke says, "Then why haven't I ever heard anything about him? We learned all about the Hokage in the Ninja Academy, even things they did that weren't so good." Kakashi says, "It's complicated. Everyone believes somewhere in the past the archives were dismantled, so everything about Madara Uchiha was taken out. No one knows exactly about his story now, but what I can tell you is that he left the village and eventually fought the first Hokage over control of the Land of Fire. Madara lost. I think by the time the second Hokage came, he made sure as little information as possible was known about Madara. And that's why, well, we don't have information about him in the library and no one teaches you about him in the academy." Sasuke says, "But why? Sure, he did some terrible things, but we have extensive records of many criminals from the village and from abroad. Why delete everything about Madara?" Kakashi says, "I honestly don't know. As you may have noticed, even though Madara was one of the most powerful shinobis of his time, the real facts about his life are not well known. There may have been a reason why the second Hokage didn't want others to know about Madara." "I know why you're asking me this, Sasuke. Rest assured, we all have bad ancestors, but having someone bad in your family doesn't mean you'll be a bad person. You, above anyone else, should know that. I don't think you should worry too much about this Madara stuff. It happened several decades ago." Sasuke looks at him and says, "Very well then." Kakashi asks, "How's your Sharingan doing?" Sasuke says, "It worked well in battle. I managed to copy some techniques." Kakashi says, "Good. I think you might find your next mission quite interesting." This scene serves to show Sasuke and Kakashi's relationship, establishing that Sasuke trusts Kakashi to ask him about personal issues, and also shows Sasuke sees Kakashi as a father figure of some sort. By the way, if you haven't subscribed the first time I asked you to, please do it now. We cut to Naruto. It's a bit later in the day, almost evening. Naruto is staring at his father's face sculpted in Konoha's mount. He has a thoughtful, distant expression. He hears a voice saying, "Thinking about your ancestors?" Naruto looks to the side and sees Sasuke also staring towards Konoha's mount. He's caught off guard and gets embarrassed. "None of your business, Sasuke." Sasuke then looks at him and says, "Do you wanna go train, loser?" Naruto stares back at Sasuke and says with a smile, "You bet." These two characters are the only ones of their age who can understand each other, and now it seems that their pride is no longer getting in the way for them to get closer. We now start the Chunin Exams arc. Hopefully by this point, Naruto and Sasuke's friendship is more concrete, and Team 7's connection with the other rookies is better established, so the arc can be even more satisfying. Honestly, for this arc, I'm not changing a lot of things. Mostly of what I'm doing is just adding a decent amount of stuff. I think the Chunin Exams is a near perfect arc, so most of the things I'm adding here are much more of a setup for things in the future or minor things that I just think would be cool. But I am making a couple of changes as well. The introduction of the Sand siblings and Team Guy goes about the same way in the original, but with two small changes. The first one is that obviously Konohamaru doesn't exist, so we'll have Kankuro provoke Naruto instead of Konohamaru. Sasuke then arrives, tossing that rock at Kankuro, and then Gaara arrives as well, and the scene goes about the same way. The next small change is that when Rock Lee essentially declares his platonic love for Sakura and she's creeped out by him, we get a quick panel of Sasuke looking a little jealous, establishing that he doesn't like other guys hitting on Sakura. After that, when Team 7 enters the room for the written exam, they encounter Team Kurenai and Team Asuma like in the original, but as we've already had those characters introduced, the scene works a little differently. Hinata still shows signs of liking Naruto but is too shy to say anything, and Shikamaru looks as bored as always. But the most interesting thing here is to set up more conflict between Kiba and Naruto. Kiba provokes Naruto even more, saying that he killed the 4th Hokage, and Naruto gets very pissed. Sasuke then steps in, and as he's about to say something, Kiba interrupts him, saying, "You're no longer the captain. If you want to do anything like last time, you'll be disqualified from the exams." Sasuke resigns himself and Naruto keeps screaming, which makes them stand out in the room, and the crowd of more experienced ninjas stares at them, and the scene continues like it did in the original. I'll make no changes to the written exam itself because it's perfect. After that, we get to the Forest of Death. And we'll add a couple of things here. After the second exam starts and Team 7 fights that lone rain ninja, Sasuke says, "We have to stay focused. We fell for one trap, but the trick is to make them fall for ours." Sakura smiles and says, "I knew you'd have something in mind, Sasuke." Naruto seems a little annoyed at that, but also because he was captured by the Rain Ninja before, and says, "Why do we always have to go with your plan, Sasuke?" Sasuke says, "My plan? Who said it's mine? We'll do your plan, Naruto." We cut a little bit to the future as Team 7 is now walking on the Forest of Death ground level. Naruto is speaking very loudly and boasting that he will be the one that takes on all other teams and gets all the scrolls. Suddenly, a barrage of shurikens and kunais is shot from the trees towards Team 7. They do their best to evade them, but all of them are hit in non-lethal parts of their bodies. We see 3 ninjas from the grass village erupting from the trees and rushing towards Team 7. One of them is a red-haired girl. You would recognize her as a younger Karin. Karin uses her Uzumaki chain attack, a smaller version that she would eventually use in the war arc to attack Team 7 from a distance on top of the trees, and her 2 teammates engage Team 7 in melee, descending to ground level. As they engage Team 7, a fireball from the tree line is shot towards Team 7 itself and the 2 grass ninjas that they were engaging, impacting and destroying them. Team 7 were shadow clones who got dispelled after the impact, and we see the grass ninjas defeated on the ground. We see that Sasuke was the one who shot the fireball, and Karin looks at him after he just downed 2 of her companions. Sasuke then says, "I think now is a good time for you to surrender your scroll." Karin, still with a chakra chain protruding from her hand, says, "Is that so?" Karin's companions attack Team 7 from behind, and Naruto and Sakura get hit by taijutsu attacks. This is all happening above the tree line. Sasuke is forced to activate his Sharingan as Naruto and Sakura scramble to defend themselves, engaging the real grass ninjas in melee. We see Karin's allies who were hit by the fireball disappearing, as they were just a simple genjutsu illusion. Karin shoots her chains towards Sasuke and says, "You're very cute. I would obviously have no trouble spotting this intense chakra of yours hitting on the tree lines while you used a decoy to bait us. Did you really think those clones would fool me?" Sasuke avoids the chains and thinks, "So she's a sensory type, huh?" She seems to be their leader as well, and rushes towards Naruto and Sakura's aid. Naruto, who had already created shadow clones to cope with the grass ninjas attacking them. Karin seems frustrated that Sasuke didn't go after her. Team 7 now, using teamwork, manages to defeat Karin's allies with a quick succession of taijutsu attacks on the top of the trees. Naruto and Sasuke land simultaneous kicks, one for each of the enemies, tossing them to the ground. Sasuke jumps towards their direction, but he is intercepted by Karin's chain. He manages to dodge it again mid-air now by sticking a kunai in one of the trees and using it as leverage. Karin looks at him doing that dodge and thinks, so cool. Sasuke changes direction and uses the tree trunk to propel himself towards Karin, dodging another attack from her chains. Sasuke then engages her in melee, and she doesn't have much of a chance here. Sasuke lands a taijutsu combo, quickly defeating her as she also falls to the ground like her companions. Sasuke jumps on top of her, restricting her moves, and puts a kunai on her neck, imitating what Kakashi did to him during the bell test. Sasuke says, now I really advise you to give us your scroll. Karin seems flustered because Sasuke is touching so much of her body and seems to be oddly enjoying her position. She blushes and says, fine, it's in my back purse. Sasuke reaches into it and grabs her scroll. He lets her go and she says, I thought you were gonna kill me. Sasuke looks back at her and says, just stay out of our way. See ya. He jumps back to Naruto and Sakura's position on top of the tree line. He looks at the scroll and sees that it's exactly the one they needed to have a matching pair and pass the exam, and says, we got it, let's go. Team 7 then leaves Karin and her team defeated in the forest. This is a nice scene to introduce Karin as she becomes more prominent in Shippuden, and we see in her flashback that she encounters Sasuke in the Chunin Exams, so let's actually show that for real. Also, we get a glimpse of what Karin's powers will be like with the Uzumaki chain. It's not nearly as powerful as Kushina's, but Karin is still 12 by this point, so she has a lot of room to grow. I intend to make Karin a much more powerful ninja when Shippuden rolls around. Now there's a scene that happens a little later that I'll make happen earlier in the rewrite. It's the scene when Team Guy splits in order to find more scrolls on Neji's orders. The same scene happens in the same way, but Neji says one additional thing. He tells his team that they should get as many scrolls as they can from every team they encounter after they scatter, so less candidates are able to advance to the next phase. So even if they were to find repeated scrolls, they are to keep them as many as they can. Rock Lee and Tenten nod, and the scene ends the same way with Team Guy scattering. We cut to Team 7 jumping on forest trees, moving quickly and trying to be as silent as possible. Sasuke says, now we have both scrolls, we just have to get to the tower. Sakura, I'll leave one of the scrolls to you. Sakura blushes and says, but why? Sasuke, you're much stronger, you should have both of them. Naruto interrupts and says, no way, Sasuke, I should be the one to get a scroll. Sasuke sighs and says, I'll keep one scroll. If I keep only one, even if I'm captured, they'll think we have only one scroll as the entire team, and we will probably be able to keep the other scroll in the worst case scenario. Sakura, you'll keep the other scroll. You'll use a genjutsu illusion to make it appear as something else. Naruto, you're too clumsy, you don't take good care of your things. That's one of the reasons Sakura should keep it. Naruto growls a bit, saying that he can take care of his things just fine. Sasuke thinks for a while and says, Sakura, use two genjutsu illusions. Make the real scroll appear as something else, and make something else appear as the scroll to work as a decoy. Naruto, you keep the fake scroll as a decoy, and Sakura will keep the real thing disguised as something else. I'll be keeping the other scroll without an illusion on me. Sakura says, but then shouldn't we disguise your scroll as well? Sasuke says, no, if we all go down, they'll be looking for the scroll. If I, the team captain, have the scroll, they're likely not to look too deep into the two of you for another scrolls, and when they find Naruto's decoy, they'll not even question it. So, even if we are defeated, supposing that we don't die in the process, we should be able to keep the scroll Sakura is disguising. Naruto says, who says you're the team captain now? Sasuke grins and says, well, the third Hokage thought it was a good idea. Naruto scowls and says, oh, that old man doesn't know anything. believe it. Sakura interrupts Naruto, screaming at him, "Naruto, Sasuke is obviously the best choice to be the captain. He already proved that he can do a great job." Naruto says, "But Sakura!" Sasuke interrupts both of them now and says, "Both of you, we have to be quiet. We want to remain undetected until we get to the tower." He changes the subject and says, "It's getting late, so we should find some place to sleep overnight. This is a 5-day test, so there's no need for us to drain ourselves too much on the first day." As the night comes, Team 7 finds a cave-like alcove that's pretty well hidden in the forest, where they decide to stay overnight. Sakura uses her genjutsu to transform one of the scrolls into a kunai and one of her kunais into that same scroll, and then she gives the decoy for Naruto to keep like Sasuke told them to. Sakura then uses another genjutsu illusion to disguise the alcove, making it seem like the entrance is blocked by a large rock, so people can't see through the entrance. But Team 7, who is inside of the alcove, is able to see just fine outside of it. I think these genjutsus are a good way to show Sakura's abilities developing further and make her a bit more useful than she was in the original. As Team 7 sets in the small cave, Sasuke says, "We'll take turns to watch the outside for enemies during the night. If you see anyone, don't make any noise and do not engage unless they notice us." Sakura thinks, "I'm sleeping right next to Sasuke tonight." And she seems very excited. Naruto thinks the same thing about Sakura, by the way. Sasuke notices both of them daydreaming and says, "Just because we're resting doesn't mean you can lower your guard. Stay sharp. I'll be the first on watch duty." Naruto grins as he'll be sleeping first with Sakura. As both of them lay down, Naruto tries to get a little closer to Sakura, but she sees what he's doing and kicks him straight in the balls, saying, "Stay on the other side of the cave, you pervert." Naruto cries in pain, saying, "I'm sorry, Sakura," and he just crawls to the other side of the cave. Eventually, they both fall asleep and Sasuke starts his watch. A few hours pass and nothing really happens. Sasuke eventually gets bored during the watch and catches himself staring at Sakura while she is asleep. When he realizes what he's doing, he blushes and quickly turns away back to his watch duty. More time passes and Sasuke spots a figure in the night's darkness, over 100 feet away from him. The figure appears to be coming towards his direction, but not in a straight line. As the figure gets closer, hopping from tree branch to tree branch, Sasuke activates his Sharingan. As the figure approaches, it's clear that it's one solo ninja. Sasuke tenses up, preparing for a fight, even though the figure doesn't appear to be going straight towards their position. Eventually, Sasuke gets a clear view of the figure when it's within about 20 feet of the alcove. It's Neji Hyuga. Sasuke thinks back to how badly Rock Lee stomped him, and how Rock Lee told him about Neji was far beyond Sasuke's abilities. He also doesn't think Sakura's genjutsu barrier would stop the Byakugan from such a close range, but Neji doesn't appear to have the Byakugan activated. Neji looks around, it doesn't seem like he's seeing through Sakura's genjutsu. Sasuke looks intently at him with his Sharingan activated. Neji then starts to walk away. Sasuke relaxes ever so slightly. Neji then pauses, and Sasuke tenses up. Neji says, "Did you really think I wouldn't see through that barrier?" Sasuke tenses up back again, much more than before. He looks towards Naruto and Sakura. They're both still deep in their sleep. Neji continues to speak, still with his back turned towards the alcove entrance and Sasuke. "I wanted to see what you would do once I turned my back away. I thought for certain that you would attack. Now, as you didn't, there are a few possibilities as to why. 1. You are all weak and are not confident in attacking a lone shinobi. 2. You know how powerful I am and you didn't want to cross me. 3. You already have both scrolls, so starting a fight wouldn't benefit you." Sasuke remains silent, thinking about what he could do. Neji finally turns around, facing Sasuke's direction. His Byakugan is activated. Sasuke knows the basics about the Byakugan as he read about it in Hinata's ability portfolio when he was squad captain for their mission in the country of crystals. Neji approaches the entrance. He then says, "The genjutsu may camouflage your exact location to me, but I can still see all 3 of you in there. Why don't you come out?" Sasuke doesn't reply. Neji then releases the genjutsu barrier, revealing Team 7, Sasuke in a battle stance, Naruto and Sakura still sleeping. Neji sees Sasuke and recognizes him. "Ah, it's you. Lee told me about your little encounter with him. Didn't fare so well, did you?" Sasuke scowls. Neji looks at Sasuke's eyes and says, "So this is the Sharingan, huh? Nothing but an inferior copy of the Byakugan." Sasuke's expression grows in anger. Neji says, "Well, it appears you are in no mood to talk, so let me cut right to the chase. Give me your scrolls, and I'll just leave. No need to fight. If you want to test those cheap eyes of yours against mine, feel free though." Sasuke tosses 3 shuriken in Neji's direction. Neji dodges them easily as Naruto and Sakura wake up spooked. Sasuke says, "Naruto, Sakura, get moving! We have to get out of here!" Sasuke jumps out of the alcove, upwards towards the canopy, forming hand signs. Neji jumps after him as Sasuke lands on a tree branch and launches phoenix flames against Neji. Neji uses his gentle fist to punch the phoenix flames in quick succession, neutralizing the fire mid-air. Neji reaches Sasuke's position in the canopy, engaging him in taijutsu, Byakugan versus Sharingan. Sasuke is at a heavy disadvantage, barely being able to sustain his defense, taking some gentle fist blows. The fighters leap from branch to branch, exchanging taijutsu attacks in this very elegant and intense fight. Every time Sasuke gets hit, he feels his chakra control getting worse, and Sasuke himself is unable to land any hits back on Neji. Naruto finally understands what's happening and uses the Shadow Clone Jutsu, creating about 20 doppelgangers that rush towards the canopy to aid Sasuke. The real Naruto stays on the ground, Sakura near him. As the Naruto clones engage Neji, they help Sasuke to disengage because he was getting pretty heavily beaten, but Naruto's taijutsu is much inferior to Neji's, and Neji manages to dispose of Naruto's clones rather quickly with his intricate taijutsu combo. Sasuke uses the clones as a distraction to gain some distance from Neji, and as he does so, he shoots a fireball aimed at Neji. The jutsu creates a fire trail as it streaks across the canopy. Neji, however, is able to dodge it, and he says, "I know you and the little 9-tailed demon over there have a scroll each. This fight could have been avoided, but you won't listen." Naruto, hearing that, screams, "Yeah! We have a knack for that!" as he creates more shadow clones to go after Neji. However, the Hyuga changes his target now and goes after Naruto and Sakura. Naruto creates even more clones trying to protect them. Neji lands on the ground as over 30 shadow clones surround him. Sasuke yells, "Naruto! Hold him in place! Believe it, I will!" All clones attack Neji at the same time, trying to grapple him. Neji starts defeating clone after clone, but Sasuke jumps directly above Neji and the clones and launches a fireball aimed straight to the ground right where Neji is fighting the clones. Neji looks up, and we get a quick glance of Neji beginning to move in a circular motion as the fireball impacts, exploding and creating a small crater on the ground. All clones are destroyed, and Sasuke lands on another tree branch after his jump. The smoke created by the fireball dissipates, and Neji stands tall in the middle of the crater, completely unharmed. Teen 7 is surprised and a little scared at seeing that. Naruto motions to create more shadow clones, but Neji blitzes him and Sakura with him, who was standing close to Naruto. Neji delivers a gentle fist barrage to both of them simultaneously, knocking them out. Sasuke jumped towards Neji, trying to intercept his blitz, but he was too far away and wasn't fast enough. Sasuke then lands on the ground as well, seeing Naruto and Sakura knocked out, and Neji, with a condescending look on his face, snatches Naruto's decoy scroll. Sasuke thinks, at least it appears he didn't notice the real scroll. Neji says, "Did you have enough, or do you want to see why the Byakugan is far superior to those pathetic eyes of yours?" Sasuke begins weaving hand signs. Neji says, "Very well then, I'll show you why the Hyuga clan is the strongest in the Leaf Village." Sasuke uses the phoenix flowers, imbuing a dozen shurikens with flames and tossing them towards Neji so he can block them with his fists. We got our first glance of the rotation technique of the Hyuga clan when Neji tanked that fireball, and now we'll get a second glance. We don't understand what Neji is doing yet, but he forms his chakra around the points the shuriken will impact, creating the barrier without rotating. The fiery shurikens hit the chakra barriers with flashes of light and fire, but do nothing to Neji. He doesn't do the rotation because it's not necessary. The rotation is only used as a way to use the jutsu offensively, but here Neji just essentially creates a base basic chakra barrier to tank the shurikens. Sasuke sees Neji expelling that chakra with his Sharingan and using it as a shield, but can barely think about it, as even though Sasuke tries to get out of Neji's reach, Neji catches up to him and they engage in melee once again. This time there's no one to help Sasuke. Sasuke puts a brave resistance in a fierce taijutsu exchange, but Neji eventually uses his gentle fist to knock him out. Sasuke wakes up with Naruto and Sakura screaming his name and shaking him. He is back at the alcove. He quickly checks for his scroll. It is taken. Sasuke punches the cave wall in frustration. Naruto is very pissed as well and he says, "That guy will pay for what he did, believe it." Sakura says, "At least we have one of the scrolls. Your plan worked, Sasuke. We still have time to get another one." Sasuke is very frustrated. First Rock Lee and now Neji stomped him. Naruto also thinks that those guys are really powerful because they were capable of defeating himself and Sasuke easily, and Neji actually defeated the entire team at the same time without a scratch. Sasuke says, "We'll be unable to use our chakra for some time. It's the Hyuga Gentle Fist. There's no point in doing anything until we are able to get our abilities back." Sakura says, "Yes, I tried to put the Genjutsu barrier back up, but it didn't work." At this point we get a contrast of the trio's personality. Naruto is pissed, but fired up. He wants to go out there and fight Neji again to reclaim their scroll. His thoughts are much more idealized and not realistic. Sasuke is pissed too, but he sees things as they really are. He understands their bleak situation in a realistic way. He realizes their chances of getting another scroll are low, and that Neji and his team will probably amass several scrolls, making it even more difficult for Team 7 to get any scrolls left. Sakura, on the other hand, is an optimist. She sees the bright side, that they are not dead, and that Sasuke's plan of concealing one of those scrolls worked. She has faith that Naruto and Sasuke will be able to get another scroll, and she believes in them. So, instead of Neji encountering Team Asuma, I made him encounter Team 7 in the Forest of Death. That serves a couple of purposes. First, to get the Sasuke vs Neji fight, which was hyped up during part 1 and never happened. It may be soon for it to happen here, but don't worry, there will be a rematch. Second, Neji is a little meaner in this version, as he wasn't going after everyone's scrolls in the original. After all, he left Team Asuma alone. But if you were one of the most powerful ninjas in the exam, getting as many scrolls as you can to diminish your competition in further phases of the exam is actually a really valid strategy, and that's what Neji is going for here. And also, he didn't want to kill anyone. He was just, okay, I'm gonna get the scrolls. So he didn't finish Team 7 off, he just knocked them out. But of course, he is still very arrogant, as I try to portray that in that encounter with Team 7. We also get a good contrast of Neji's personality with Rock Lee's personality. Neji attacks and steals a scroll from Team 7, as Rock Lee will try to save them later when they encounter the Sound Village team. This also serves as a build-up for Neji and his eventual fights with Hinata and Naruto as well. Having this additional encounter will make the Forest of Death seem an even greater ordeal, and that's what I'm aiming for. Also, this is a 5-day test, so let's make Team 7 really stretch that time limit, and let's make this very clear during the narrative, so that the entire situation is even tenser. Team 7 rests as best as they can given the circumstances in the alcove. As morning comes, they realize their chakra is still blocked by the Gentle Fist attacks. Sasuke orders them to wait, which really frustrates Naruto, who calls Sasuke a coward, but Sasuke tells Naruto to imagine fighting someone as strong as Neji without using their chakra. Naruto finally understands. Team 7 will spend the entire second day of the exam just waiting, as their chakra will only come back at the beginning of day 3. This ups the ante and their time limit, as I said before, so they'll have to push themselves to pass the exam. While they wait, we can get other scenes that involve other teams during the exams, like Gaara stomping that Rang Village team, because I am not changing those other scenes. The third day arrives and Team 7 starts moving again, as their chakra starts working back as normal. As they advance in the forest, Sasuke notices something strange. That prompts Sasuke to stop the team and give them the password for the question, when should a ninja strike? After that, the entire scene with Orochimaru unfolds the way it did in the original. Now Sakura has to defend Naruto and Sasuke, who are unconscious by herself, and things remain largely the same for the scene involving the sound team. However, Sakura takes some additional steps to protect them. In addition to using those booby traps, she also uses her genjutsu to make illusions and disguise herself and her teammates, which makes the sound team life more difficult. Regardless, the outcome is largely the same. When she confronts Zaku, however, instead of using the substitution jutsu that doesn't exist in this rewrite, she uses genjutsu, but her tactic is exactly the same as well. She cuts her hair, Rock Lee comes up, tries to save them but fails, then Team Asuma shows up, and then Sasuke finally wakes up with its curse mark flaring. I hope that the moment he sees Sakura really hurt and then breaks Zaku's arms feels more personal, because I try to make a point that Sasuke is developing feelings for Sakura. So him overreacting that way because of the curse mark and because he likes Sakura makes more sense and should feel more cathartic. And also, when Sakura finally stops Sasuke from going berserk by hugging him, that should also feel more intimate than in the original because of the romantic build-up in the rewrite. Neji and Tenten also arrive, and Neji, who had just fought Sasuke and destroyed him, is actually pretty scared of the chakra from the curse mark and remarks, how could he get that much more powerful in such a short time? After that, things in the Forest of Death happen similarly to how they did in the original, with one difference. Sasuke is in really bad shape, much worse than in the original. He can barely walk, and he vomits every 15 minutes or so. The curse mark has much worse effects than it did in the original. Sakura takes care of Sasuke while he's in that state, and Sasuke blames himself for being so useless, but appreciates Sakura's help, and we can get a tender moment of Sakura trying to help Sasuke as much as she can. Naruto gets jealous of Sasuke for getting so much attention, but also worried because something definitely appears to be wrong with Sasuke. Kabuto also appears to help Team 7, and as Sasuke is completely useless, Naruto has to do all the work until the end of the Forest of Death. So he essentially solos those rain ninjas that they encounter in the end to get the second scroll. Making that fight grandier would be a good way to show Naruto's development as well, but nothing too major. I want to feel like Naruto was really the one who made them pass at the end, and that will be what prompts Sasuke to tell Naruto he wants to fight him as well as they are about to start the preliminary fights. Speaking of which, everything remains largely the same during the preliminaries. The same fights are fought, but as we know all the rookies better in this version, we should be more attached to them in every fight. Naruto's fight with Kiba should feel even more cathartic as well, because Kiba was an absolute jerk to Naruto in every situation he could. And yes, I'm keeping the fart in there. I know some people don't like it, but I do. I think it's funny, and Naruto is supposed to be the #1 unpredictable ninja. Also, having Kiba, who was such a jerk to Naruto, lose to a fart on his face by Naruto himself is poetic justice. Sasuke's fight with Yoroi should feel even more desperate because of his state, but things unfold the same way. He is able to defeat him by controlling the curse mark through sheer willpower. Also, Hinata's fight with Neji should feel more intense as well, as we know much more about both characters, and that Hinata going in will probably get stomped because we saw how Sasuke did against Neji, which should make things even worse and grittier in that fight and more interesting to watch. The only change I'm effectively making in those fights is that Sakura loses to Ino instead of both getting knocked out at the same time. Sakura will eventually give in, and this makes things more heartbreaking for her as well, as she was really badly bitten in the Forest of Death, and now she gets beaten again. I think that's good character development. I know a lot of people don't like this fight, Ino versus Sakura, but honestly, I don't think it's even that bad. I think people don't like it because it ends in a draw, and that's a big cop-out. So, Sakura losing here will progress her character more, as she feels powerless compared to Naruto and Sasuke, and I think people would enjoy the fight much better if they had a clear winner. For the finals bracket, all fights remain the same, but Ino would fight Dosu, and Shikamaru would fight Temari from the get-go. Both Ino versus Dosu and Shikamaru versus Temari are then fights that are technically in a less advanced round than Sasuke versus Gaara and Neji versus Sasuke and Kankura Sakura versus Shino because of the way of the numbers, and you just can't make a bracket that fits perfectly, so you have to give those fighters more fights, and it's gonna work out the same way eventually. The preliminaries end and Naruto goes after Kakashi to get trained by him. Kakashi then passes Naruto over to Iruka and goes to train Sasuke. In the original, Ebisu was the one who began Naruto's training, but Ebisu doesn't exist here, and giving a little more screen time to Iruka won't hurt. Iruka can train and explain everything Ebisu did to Naruto, and we can also have a tender moment between Iruka and Naruto, where Naruto appreciates what Iruka was doing for him and has always been doing for him. Iruka gets teary-eyed and says, of course he would do it and help Naruto pass and become a Chunin just like he is. As Naruto is practicing water walking near the bathhouses with Iruka, they both spot Jiraiya peeping on the ladies, but they don't know it's Jiraiya yet. As Iruka goes to reprimand Jiraiya, he knocks Iruka out and we get the same introductory scene for Jiraiya as we got in the original. And yes, I'll end up part 4 of the rewrite here because when I watched Naruto on TV 15 years ago, every time Jiraiya showed up, the series went back to episode 1, which was very annoying, so I'm ending part 4 here for the sake of nostalgia. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss part 5, or watch it right here if it's already out. Like this video to support the series, comment below what you think about the changes I made so far, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.